night in the Epiphany was that I like woke up and wrote down is that I don't know where the idea. I probably read it or came across it sometime earlier in the week. Like, what would be your like? What is your single sort of biggest regret right now? Not about like your whole life, but if you were gonna encapsulate it into just today. And I think the problem we all have around social media and stuff, and that sort of being like it's a very constricted kind of communication. The epiphany was like, honestly, my biggest regret is I have come nowhere near helping as many people as I would want to help. Like nowhere close, not
Well,
even
how easy is
5%.
it to want to help the whole world? I mean, how many
Yeah,
people would be a realistic goal?
right. No one knows their number starting
Right.
out. No one, if even if they think they know their number, can guarantee that they would be satisfied once they or happy if they hit that number.
What makes the number important?
I don't know what makes the number important, but I know that I bet I could count on two hands the number of people that I've like profoundly helped.
Okay,
A
so
lot
what
of
does
people have gotten like a
profoundly
little
mean?
bit, right?
What does
Hmm?
profoundly mean? At
That
what
it
point is
changed
it
it
profound?
it changed how they conduct their life or their business. And
Okay.
if it changed how they conduct their business, that in turn changed their life.
And what kind of input do you think you would need with somebody to make a change that big?
So there are two ways of thinking about having that kind of impact, right? At least two, but two that I can talk about right now. This tea, by the way, is disgusting. I only drink it because
For
apparently
your
my
health?
wife says it's healthy for me. It's some sort of lemon ginger probiotic
Sounds like if you put some gin in there, it would be just
junk.
right.
Oh, it's terrible. So you can think about it, in one of a couple of ways. You can think about it having like a very profound, wide-ranging impact with a sort of a rich communication that might take place over a very long time with individuals. Or you can think of it as having a sort of like a smaller impact, but still, something that moves someone off of one path and onto another path and into like a better path, a better for them with a lot of people. So small for a lot of people, or very rich with a very few people.
Tell me about the very rich for the very few people over a long period of time.
To
Like,
me,
is that a
if I was a
one-on-one?
coach, and I would never ever have the temperament to be sort of a one-on-one coach for someone for a long time. Um, I'm sorry, John Paduchak is calling me on my phone.
Hmm, maybe he's having
Hey,
technical
John, what's
difficulties.
up?
Sorry, I ended up in a bit of a perplexing situation today.
Okay, we're all
but
good. Don't worry about it if you can't make it.
yeah, I know. I just wanted to let you know. I'm sorry I couldn't get in touch with you ahead of time. But
Yeah, it's okay.
like, suddenly.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you later today after we finish this session.
Okay, sounds good.
Later. Thanks. Bye. I'm sorry. We were talking about, yeah. So, like, what a coach to me, a coach who works with people one on one. No, not like a basketball coach or something. Oh, maybe, but like a life coach, a business coach, a productivity coach. I mean, this is someone who's looking with a very rich one to one. You're giving back, and then they're adapting what they're saying or how they're illustrating something back to you based on what you gave them, right? That can only be done, at a small scale, obviously.
Right,
Whereas you could have a larger overall impact by having a smaller impact on many more people,
right. And
right?
which one is more fun for you?
Oh, I think for me it would have to be the latter,
Yeah, a
right?
smaller
I'm
impact on a larger
Yeah,
number of people.
I'm just not wired in a way so that I could just do in-depth coaching. I have no coaching business. I've never started or had a coaching business.
Right.
Right. Uh, I admire people who can do that because it's not something that I would willingly walk into. So the
Right.
fact that I'm glad that there are people in the world who can do that, but it's not me.
Right. Right.
Right.
So what
But
kinds of small impacts have you made on people that you like, that you wouldn't mind having more of?
it's they seem to come from two. I feel like we're in a therapy session or something. Okay.
I'm going to
So
have to put my coaching link
yeah,
into
there
the
you go. You
chat.
put on your coaching hat and off we go, right? So I know for a fact, looking back over the last many years, for some people, I was able to like, I was able to restate something quite obvious, but in a way that they hadn't thought about, and it got them at the right time in their life, and like put them on a different path that worked out really well for them. And
Is this
then
from like
for
a social post, from a webinar, and how do you know it happened?
most of mine tend to be one to many in live things,
And
or
how
else a
did you
little
know
book
that
or
this
something that
happened?
I wrote. Oh, because they reach out to me.
Gotcha.
Oh, by the way, and I apologize, I do not remember your name, sir, but the person who watched the 90-minute positioning workshop that we did, I think week before last, and got it all transcribed and stopped and made screenshots of all of the slides and put the whole thing together into kind of a booklet for people in your Facebook group. I have to admit, it was a little flattering.
Nice.
It's 90 minutes. It's not a small document.
Right.
And to take all the screenshots of all the slides, wow, that was
that's a big
to me, that was I hope it was a situation where someone A, thought that the information was valuable, and B, thought that the people in his group would benefit from it if they
I think
didn't
his
happen to
behavior
see it.
shows that.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's not an easy cut paste.
Yeah. So like I was saying, most of my stuff, whether it's like restatement or a new way to think about an everyday thing, or a new idea that no one had ever thought about before or come across, and for me, they tend to come across from little booklets. It tends to have most effect, I should say, if it's in like a little booklet or something that I write, or sort of a one-to-many presentation live streamed.
Right. So where's your dissatisfaction then?
That I should have started doing this quite a lot earlier. And because almost all the stuff that I talk about, like this is the product of years and years of thinking about like stuff in order to boil it down to the sort of underlying assumptions everyone makes about stuff. And then second, that I have not yet scaled it.
Right. And so how come it's negative? How come it's not like, oh, I finally figured it out? I mean, we don't expect a third grader to do calculus. You have to get the underlying information and the base information, right? And that's you experimenting, learning about yourself, learning about other people, finding the audience, finding how to communicate with the audience. I mean, this is just, I feel
it
like
can take a while.
Yeah. And there's some celebration to be had because you found, and I remember how much energy you had last week, and you're like, I figured it out. So
it was very nice to figure finally, like after putting your hand, putting keys in so many doors to finally find a door that opened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No question.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think I'm still looking. I'm jealous of your epiphany last week, and I know before we were live streaming, we were both kind of lamenting the slog of social media, and for me,
Yes.
it's that meaning piece. I am not. I kind of have a little bit of we have a bias that bigger is better and that more is more. And I have let go of that for the most part. Like to a degree, you need bigger and more on social media, which is irritating to me. I am okay being meaningful with a smaller group of people because I don't believe that there is a lot of one-to-many that's working out there.
Right.
I'm interested in following your journey because I know you and I know the care and I know the brilliance that you have, and that you're not interested in one-to-many if it's not working. And so there's a lot of one-to-many that's not working out there. And I'm putting some of it out there as well. And I don't like that. And, so I have my own kind of struggle with that. And I think that finding that thread of meaning in the work that you do makes it much easier to do. But I work with a lot of solopreneurs who are just not super excited about social media because it's not, I think because of this conversation, I think it's because they're not connecting it with the meaning. And to a degree, that's like, are people moving down your funnel? But that funnel has to have meaning to you. That one-on-one work or whatever your course is, or, whatever it is that you're selling, has to have that level of meaning there. And so I'm with you. And like, What's the point of there's so many people out there who see the webinar and hit the button and buy the dream and never come around and do the work and
Right.
never come around and, because they can't time manage. They have too much going on. Many different reasons why we don't do that. But and I've worked with organizations where they sell thousands and thousands of courses, and a large proportion don't even sign in. And then a huge proportion sign in one time. I
Yeah.
mean, that's theft to me. This organization is not, on purpose doing
Right.
that. They're offering a fabulous product. But like, for me to see that, understand that, and then set something up similar, for me would be theft. Like, I
It would
know
be
that you're buying a
disheartening.
dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I
So
mean, for anyone who's watching, what Heather just said, I just want to point out something. In my own experience, having worked with and even helped quite a number of people create online courses and then selling them, the people who are making online courses, for the most part, they're not in the same mindset as the people who open a gym, right? When you open a gym and you try to sign up as many people as possible, you hope only a tiny fraction of them will ever show up, because otherwise you'd need a gym the size of a Walmart and all of the money that would go into the equipment and the land, whatever, right? So the gym model is based on you signing up and ideally never showing up, just paying them. The people who are doing these courses, I can tell you, at least in my own experience from all the ones I've worked with, they genuinely want everyone to do the entire course and then get the maximum out of it, to get way more out of it than they actually paid for it.
Oh, for
So
sure.
I don't know anybody who's creating courses with the idea of hoping that no one ever, like, people pay but never actually, sign in, let alone finish it.
Right. Here's the dream on the course creators end.
Right.
I can take this one-on-one that's been working really well, and that's been this epiphany for my one-on-one clients, and I can share it broadly, and everybody can feel this way, and everybody can understand this, and everybody can. And it's because it's not, the information is cheap. The information is so cheap.
Yeah.
It's Googleable. Like, how do you deliver it in a way that creates change for someone, which is, I think, some of it's timing when they're ready for it, and some of it, I mean, is out of your control, because people are bad at time management, and they wish that they had the time to do the course, and they wish that they had the brain space to do the course.
Right.
But then life happens and they don't carve out the time for it. They think they'll squeeze it in on Friday afternoon, and it never happens. And so there's that, like, that's the course should probably start with, is that saying no, time management, prioritization, all that kind of stuff. But that stuff's out there too. And people take those courses and then make no changes. And so I think this idea of change, this is where the push to one-on-one happens, because that's where change, we figured it out. When you are one-on-one with somebody, in that high level of accountability and understanding and problem solving and all that works.
But you have to charge
one-to-many
them a
struggle.
lot, because just from human psychology, you have to charge them a lot of money, not only because it's one-to-one time, but because unless they put in a lot of money, they don't actually work it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Years and years ago, we used to call this, in my house, we used to call this the Bowflex problem, where a lot of people said, you know what, I really need to get into shape. I really need to lose some weight. I want to be healthier. And so they see an infomercial, they go online, they buy a Bowflex or any other kind of expensive home exercise equipment. It goes into a room, they use it for a week, and then it never gets used again. Now, the lesson in that is not that it never gets used again. The lesson is that they try to shortcut and buy their way into being fit. And you can't buy your way into being fit. You can theoretically, with plastic surgery, buy your way into being thinner. But even then, you haven't bought your way into being fit.
Right.
But so they substitute, and like a lot of the books that you buy, right, especially any sort of the self-help or productivity books, or any of the listicles you'll see on social media, like do this and don't do that and avoid these mistakes. It's like it's a substitute for actually doing something.
Right.
The only thing you did was hand over money or attention.
Well, you're buying the idea, you're buying the dream, you're buying this future self. One of my favorite books is called The Willpower Instinct. It's by Kelly McGonigal. Highly recommend it to everyone.
Yep.
Although you should buy it with Willpower Doesn't Work by Benjamin Hardy, because together they make a really nice a little package. But she talks about we have a cognitive error around our future selves. And we always imagine our future selves will have more time and more money and more energy and more everything. So like she gives an example of a charitable organization, people like one of the experiments was, how much money would you give today to a charitable organization? How much money would you give next week? And people always give more money next week. Would you do this activity today? Would you do it next? Every time you put yourself in the future, you just assume you're going to have a good day. You assume your kids aren't going to be throwing up. You assume you're not going to have a fight and be like waste half the morning crying your
Yeah.
eyes out.
You
Or
assume future
whatever
Heather and
happens.
future Dean are living like abundant lives with all
Well, I
kinds of
have tons of free
availability that
time, and I'm
present
incredibly
Heather and
generous.
present Dean don't have.
Yeah. I'm going to read all the ebooks I downloaded. That's
Yeah.
definitely going to happen this Friday. And I put it on Friday and I bump it from Friday to Friday to Friday.
Yep.
So even somebody who works really hard on saying no and all of that, I find that all the time. What I want to do and what I have the capacity to do are very different. And that sometimes I think that creativity and imagination are just like such a torturous negative, because I can imagine helping everyone. And so then I want to help everyone. And so when I help, 20 people, I'm like, how pathetic. But, it's not, I don't have the capacity to do more than that. And my skill sets are really geared towards smaller groups and more intense. So I have to give up the bigger is better. And I really have to look at what it looks like to find the right matches and to find, what's going to be the best for me. And then you have to do all that while swimming in the sea of, I got 5,000 followers with this viral post, and that fantasy that people throw out there. And then I have to take the people that I work with and pull them out of that fantasy as well, because it could happen. But if you bank on that, forget about it. Like, you go for 20, don't go for 1,000, because it depends on what you're doing and what's going on and what kind of following you have and all the math and all the little details in there. But knowing where your capacity is, where your skills are, and then how to make that work as an income.
And as far as achieving something, I remember watching this. Actually, it was listening because it was on a cassette tape. But it was this sort of round table of various people who had their own sort of groups where they would take these, people who were already like, sort of like type A, productive, top executive kind of folks and whatever, athletes, whatever. But instead of talking about, never mind what they weren't talking about. What they were talking about was behind the scenes, what's it like being the person that's trying to get these people to achieve more or help them achieve more. And they all came to the same agreement. He says, and one guy was sort of talking about his particular most recent group, and then they all said, that's exactly my situation, is that they would have these groups of like already very successful, highly, motivated people that are well-resourced, except in time, because no one's well-resourced in time, right? And he says, like, they would come in at the beginning of like a 3-month cycle, and they would lay out like the goals for what they wanted to achieve in that quarter. And then we would always check at the end of the quarter, and they were lucky, which means half of them didn't make it, lucky to have actually achieved one of the things they wanted to achieve from this long list. Like even the most hardcore people that are dedicated to doing it could really only build or achieve or make one thing happen per quarter. That's how difficult it is to move the boulder in your own life.
Right. Well, and they chose 20 things instead of one thing.
Yeah.
And especially as a goal-directed person, if you pick one or two, there's another book, I'm not going to remember the name of it, but they did some research, and they said that I think they looked at the organization level, and they said when a department or a company had 10 goals, they achieved none of them.
Yeah.
When they had 3 goals, they achieved like 3 or 4, they'd achieve one of them. When they have 1 or 2 goals, they tended to achieve 1 or 2 goals. And so there's part of it too, is having the ability to prioritize. And for me, every year, it's like more and more the ability to say no or not yet to everything else. And that seems to be the thing that gets in the way of most folks. It's like, I can't make this commitment because this other thing came up that I couldn't say no to. And it's like, which commitment was more important did not come across, you know what I mean? And I'm working with folks in developing kind of long-term marketing strategy. So that gets kicked to the side constantly. And if it's over money coming in, you'll never hear me, I won't raise an eyebrow at that. Like, I had a paid thing and it wouldn't fit in any other time, and this is when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But when it's like I had to answer an email or something, it's like, and maybe that email was important, but are you making that distinction between this is important, but there's delayed gratification, but it's important, or something pinged and I have to respond because my Pavlovian dog brain is screaming at me. So I think that's where I see a lot of long-term success kind of crumble and fall away, or the my optimism for long-term success, because that decision making in the moment is such a struggle.
Yeah.
Because that dopamine system is constantly and we're slaves to our dopamine system. And so until you can kind of break that and have that delayed gratification, hold on to that marshmallow and you can have two of them.
Yeah.
Still continues to be a challenge.
It's so great when someone else points out something in your own life that you hadn't noticed, right? But it was obvious to anyone who wanted to see it. Is that someone pointed out that I had Pavloved myself recently. So she came in on this Zoom call where I was, it was actually going to be a Teams call. And the thing I hate about Microsoft Teams is that unlike Zoom, there's no like ding ding when someone comes in. They just sort of drop in. And it always startles me because I'm the kind of person, there are lots of us who will join early and then continue to work. So we don't have to think about that sort of split second timing for when to join stuff. And my playlist was playing what I call design music. And I have this long playlist that's on all of the platforms I use, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, whatever, right? And it's a long playlist of a certain sort of style of music. There's variety in there, but it's very much like of a piece. And she said, "What's playing?" And I said, "I don't remember the particular song, but there's like 79 or 80 songs in this playlist." And the playlist came about because I created the playlist bit by bit by bit while I was procrastinating or needing more breaks while I was writing. Of course, I write a lot because that's my career. And so I would take breaks and procrastinate by finding more songs to add to the playlist. But I said, over time, what's happened, I guess, is that now I turn on the playlist and I immediately start writing. So what started as a way to avoid writing has become the fastest way and most sustained way I know of to sort of slip me into that mode. And then I just go and I just write.
Right. Nice.
So she said, "You Pavloved yourself." And she's not wrong.
No, it's a great way to train yourself into it.
I accidentally Pavloved myself.
I have focus at will, which is just one of those brain music ones.
Yeah.
The second I put that on, I'm gone. And so you kind of create that habit in that brain, that whatever's wired together fires together, and you can purposefully put that together.
I haven't tried focus at will. You mean, is it similar to like Brain FM or Endel?
Yep.
I tried both of those. I couldn't get into them.
Yeah, Focus at Will and Brain FM, I think, use two different ways to try to get you into focus mode. But I'm not really listening. So, I mean, and they have a bunch of different choices and all of that to get the right, quote unquote, the right music for you. But yeah, it's, for me, it doesn't matter what's playing. It matters that I've trained myself into it.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Well, we drifted a little bit from our loathing of social media at the beginning of this.
Oh, social media.
So this conversation started
because we hate it.
Because and we're both coming to the table today.
We're profoundly disappointed by it and its failure to reach its potential.
No, I just don't. Mine's the meaning thing, that connection of meaning. How can you say it's not reaching its potential when you just had that webinar that was working really well and got you a bunch of followers on your email list?
Yeah.
Where's the not reaching its potential? Do you want a bigger one-to-many?
150 people registered for that, and I think about 38 or 40 attended. So the goal for the October one will be more people getting more benefit from it each time.
Right. And so what does that look like?
Well, the next one is probably going to be, you mean the end state, what does success look like, or just what the next one? Because the next one, I would like to have 250 people registered and, 75 show up.
Right. And what does more value look like?
More value for delivering more value to more folks would be like 1,000 people registered, half of them show up, and, a large or maybe all of that 500 walk away saying, like, I see right now, just looking at my desk or my laptop or this conversation or call I'm about to have, like, I already know that I'm better off and will do better because of what I just experienced.
Gotcha. Okay. So how do you build that?
They're not going to like rewire their brains or like, have a new religion or something, but like to make a whole bunch of people's lives just incrementally better. That's the goal.
Gotcha. And how do you know you make it better when you're building? Why do you need 90 minutes for that?
Oh, I don't. The next one won't be 90 minutes. I bet the next one might only be 30 minutes.
And
I
why
don't
the
care how
change?
long it is. I care what they get out of it.
Right.
The
Right.
only
And
reason the last one was 90 minutes is because the workshop itself takes about 75 minutes when I do it one-to-one. And I needed the extra time for, intros and that kind of stuff.
gotcha.
It takes a while to get through 21 questions. And to be honest, it takes 75 minutes one-to-one, and that's with people giving answers. This was 90 minutes of 21 questions, and no one gave an answer because it wasn't set up to take people's answers or help them to write their answers.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But
So,
even then, like honestly, it's only recently I think that social media has been able to accommodate the kind of impact that I want to have, because it really needs video. It needs live streaming video. And that's not an old thing.
what makes you say it needs live streaming video? Is that a match for you or a
Yeah,
match
it's a match for
for
me. Not for
okay,
everybody, for sure. But for me, it needs live streaming video.
right?
That's where
What's
the sort of
what do you think the difference
intersection
is?
of writing and speech writing and all that experience, and the copywriting and like the work in design. I mean, I'm not a designer, but I did the fundamentals of design kind of like courses years ago, just to stop making obvious mistakes that distract people or confuse people when they're looking at something. That, and then just sort of the topics that I like to cover and the speed that I can think about that kind of stuff. That all sort of comes together in live streaming video. Well,
And why
prepared
not?
live streaming video. This is not prepared live streaming video.
Right.
This is just live streaming video. This is raw
Right.
live streaming video.
So, but why do you think live is important?
Oh, so I run webinars and like produce webinars for like live webinars for other people. And at this point, with hundreds of those, in my repertoire and done, I can tell you that there's a quality to live. And I don't mean just watching something recorded that was recorded live, but watching it while it's live. There's a quality of uncertainty
Hmm.
in live performances that you experience live that cannot be matched in any other way. And it's not that it's, there's a lot to be said for preparing stuff. And I waited a long time to go live. I'm used to reading off teleprompters and carefully structuring everything and making sure that no word or second was wasted. And anyone who watched it could literally rewind it from the beginning and watch the whole thing again and get great value the second time. But there's an anticipation, A, that something could go wrong. B, you're going to experience something that you've never experienced before. Whether or not any of this happens, by the way, is irrelevant. And three, of being part of something like as it happens, that's very different for your brain than any other kind of video experience.
Right. I'm interested in. I feel like I RSVP to a lot of things, usually because I want the recording, because
Yeah.
I want to watch it at 2 times speed, because I'm not convinced I'm going to get value out of regular speed. Right. I want to fast forward to the parts that are new, because I know a lot about marketing. You know what I mean? When it's in your field, like 80% of every presentation,
Right.
if you're lucky, it's 80%. Oftentimes it's 99%. So people aren't doing a lot
Whereas
of content.
even on the live events, like the prepared live events, right? I'm coming at it with the idea that everything in here, or virtually everything in here, should be stuff you've never experienced before. You've never thought about it. Right.
Okay, then how do you repeat it then?
How do I repeat what?
How do you do your 90-minute one again? Now it's out there, right?
Oh, I won't do the 90-minute one again.
You're just going to do everything one time?
Yeah, it's one and done.
Mm.
I have thousands of these like type sessions on slides and whatever to do, and topics. Like I'll never run out.
Right.
I come up with them faster than I could possibly deliver them. No, every single one of them is new.
Oh.
Brand new, never to be repeated. Another reason why you might as well watch it live.
Yep, because it's not coming around again. Are your recordings ever available?
Yeah, I keep the recordings available, and at least for a while. I don't think, and I guess I could take them off of LinkedIn if I wanted to. I'll let them live for a while, but usually like they don't need to live forever.
Right. Well, and they won't, not in this field. I mean,
no. Plus, the nice thing about LinkedIn is, the ideas that are presented are very durable. Like they're just as valid 10 years from now as they were 10 years ago. But the thing about LinkedIn is so bad as a video platform, you can't even go to LinkedIn and search for a video.
Right.
There's no way for you to search for a video. And so You can leave it recorded on LinkedIn forever. It's like that last scene in Indiana Jones, the first one, where they take the Ark of the Covenant and it's going into this enormous warehouse, and like it will literally never be found again because it's so much crap
Best
in
place
there.
to hide it.
That's what LinkedIn is like for videos, recorded videos. Like
That is
it's
true.
still there, but you'll never find it.
Oh, well, it's their version of what is it? Stories, Instagram stories, or
Yeah.
the impermanent. I think they
Oh, the
just don't
Snapchat
bother
ones,
with the tech
where
to
they sort of
have it disappear.
Yeah, so I'm not worried. I mean, they are on YouTube, but
Right. Yeah.
But
Well,
I'll give you an
Dean,
example of scale because we got to leave, right?
yeah.
Even with that 190-minute session with those like whatever 38 or so people who watch live, LinkedIn gives you analytics. That was nearly 2,000 minutes of watch time. So I put in 90 and 2,000 comes out. Those are the kind of numbers I can live with.
How do you get them to count it on YouTube? Are people watching it directly on YouTube, or does that happen through the streaming service? Do you get credit for your
No,
watch
you
time?
get all the streaming services measure watch time.
Right. But if you're looking to build a YouTube account, you need a certain amount of watch hours, right?
You don't need it. If you want to monetize and have ads, you need 1,000 hours, I think, of watch time.
Right. Yeah.
Might be 1,000 minutes for all I know, but
do you get that?
I don't care about monetizing my YouTube channel. I don't care if there are ads on my YouTube channel, so I'm not worried about that.
Gotcha. I'm just interested if the streaming services, if that watch time counts for YouTube, but I'm assuming they'd have to watch natively on YouTube.
Yeah.
To get them.
Yeah. So I haven't looked at what my watch time is on YouTube, but on LinkedIn for that one session, it was like 1,800 and something minutes.
Right.
That was a nice number. It's like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. But is it meaningful?
Time to go.
Cool. But is it meaningful? For me, that's the
Is it meaningful?
message of the
That's
day.
my job, is to make it as meaningful as possible. It's not the audience's job to do that. It's my job to do that.
Well, Teen, it was a great coaching session. I feel like
Yeah, you helped me a lot. Thanks.
No, I meant for me.
Thanks for coaching me up on this. I appreciate it.
I don't know that we got anywhere, but I had a good time.
Tomorrow, by the way, Website Wednesday. You don't normally get to attend. I think you have a conflict, but Website Wednesday. So someone's going to give me a search term or a URL and a sight unseen, and it's my job to make it a lot better in not much time.
I like it.
So we'll see how it
Sounds
goes.
meaningful. Sounds meaningful to me.
Could be meaningful for one person with a website. All right. See you, folks. Bye.